Now, we have in this room tonight some of the central figures who have shaped Sino-American ties over the past 30 years. And with that, that includes Dr. Henry Kissinger and Dr. Zbigniew Brzezinski, who are honorees tonight. Let's hear it for them.
And tonight, of course, we're also celebrating 20 years since the founding of the Committee of 100. And that's sort of fitting because, after all, in the West, the traditional 20th anniversary gift is bone china.
You know, 20 years is a very long time. It feels like 20 years being on this stage, waiting for everybody to sit down. But, oh, you guys are great. Oh, this is good. I feel the noise level just, okay, great. Have a glass of wine and enjoy yourself. You know, David, imagine, 20 years ago, that's such a long time.
President Obama was just finishing up his first year at Harvard Law School.
And Michael Jiang, of course, had won the French Open. He was the youngest champion ever to win a Grand Slam competition and the first American man in 34 years to triumph in Paris.
20 years ago, Amy Tan published her groundbreaking novel, The Joy Luck Club, which became an international bestseller, was translated into 25 languages, and was adapted into that very emotional and stirring film directed by Hwang and produced by my friend C100 member Janet Yang. And you, Cynthia, 20 years ago, what were you doing? You were like applying for preschool.
No. You got it all wrong. I was still in law school at UCLA, which was a long time ago. But I was also an aspiring actress. I had a movie coming out that summer. It was Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Oh, I saw that. You were like a Romulan VIP. You could have worn your Romulan hairdo tonight.
No, I wouldn't have made it past security tonight, so yeah, that's for sure. I actually played a half-human, half-Romulan ambassador who could speak all these different languages, including Romulan, which is the Rihansu language. And my character was quite a brainy diplomat. In fact, I wasn't as smart by any means compared to Dr. Kissinger or Dr. Brzezinski, but I could swear in 3 different alien languages.
Okay, let's have some Romulan, please.
Okay, here we go. Fly.
That's awesome. Which
Thanks.
means...
You want to know it? You look like a communist.
Klingon. You meant to say Klingon.
Klingon. 20 years ago, who would I brush up on my Romulan without Google or Wikipedia?
And let's not forget Yahoo and Microsoft. In 1989, Jerry Yang, one of our members, was 21 years old, and at the moment looks about 22. And he was still 6 years away from founding Yahoo. And Microsoft, which had been listed for only 3 years, had just come out with the very first edition of Microsoft Office. We were using telexes and faxes to communicate. Mobile phones were huge. And who knew what the internet was back then?
Yeah, in fact, David, if I'm not mistaken, 20 years ago, you were boldly going where no Asian American had gone before. Your play, M. Butterfly, was the hottest ticket on Broadway, and you'd won the Tony Award this year before, and you were the first Asian and the first Asian American to have a play produced on the Great White Way. I guess you could somehow say that it was sort of ivory now in color, right?
Right, and actually 20 years later, I still am. In 1989, the London production of M. Butterfly was just opening, starring Anthony Hopkins as in the lead role of the French diplomat who has a 20-year affair with a Chinese actress who turns out to be a spy and B, a man in drag. And the play was produced all over the world, but oddly enough, never in France.
Oh, well, of course. Hey, well, you know, we could have a perfect cast of characters here for M. Butterfly. We've got this intergalactic ambassador, that's me. We've got amazing folks from all over the world who are distinguished diplomats. And we have one heavenly opera singer. Dun-dun-dun.
Maybe, but, you know, the whole thing, Cynthia, is that no one with eyes would ever mistake you for a man in drag.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that.
So now, as we saw from the video presentation, it was 20 years ago that I.M. Pei, the great architect, unveiled his wonderful new courtyard entrance to the Louvre with its stunning glass pyramid that was controversial then, but is now an icon. And if that didn't make him busy enough, he and other Chinese Americans, including the cellist Yo-Yo Ma and the philanthropist Oscar Tang, got together and decided to start an organization that would have two great missions. One, to foster good relations between the peoples of the United States and Greater China, and two, to promote the full participation of Chinese Americans in every sphere of American life. And that's the organization, of course, that we're celebrating tonight, the Committee of 100.
You know, the Committee of 100 has certainly played a key role in building bridges between the U.S. and China, and between different communities of Americans. Think about where Sino-American relations were in 1989, especially during that difficult period in the aftermath of the events of June 4th and the strains brought on by that crisis in U.S.-China relations. And compare that to where we are today, 20 years later and 3 decades since China and U.S. relations were normalized. And throughout this time, the members of the Committee of 100 have contributed a great deal across many fields to foster understanding between the people of our two great nations.
And you also have to consider the representation of Asian Americans in public life. In 1989, there were very few, but now we have 3 Asian Americans, including 2 Chinese Americans, in the cabinet of President Barack Obama. Members of the Committee of 100 have been at the very forefront of this change. In 1989, Gary Locke, who's our keynote speaker this evening, was in the lower house of the Washington State Legislature on his way to becoming the governor, the first Asian American governor of a state on the mainland. And last month, Gary was sworn in as Commerce Secretary, the first Asian American ever to hold that office.
Well, Asian Americans have done very well in many other fields beyond politics and public service. In business, for example, we've seen more Asian Americans in leadership roles, including a very distinguished woman we're honoring this evening. You know, and back in 1989, former C100 chairman Bob Lee, who couldn't be here tonight because he was expecting the birth of his first grandchild, was executive vice president of sales and marketing at Pacific Bell. He was the only Asian American senior officer of a U.S. major telecommunications company, and one of the very few Asian American senior executives at any Fortune 500 company. Now, things have improved a lot since then, except for on Broadway. So, this is a very historic time to be, of course, here in Washington and for our community. And what's also exciting is all the young people, because they'll be joining the Conference for Mentoring sessions this Saturday.
And Cynthia, attending our dinner tonight are C100 members, our colleagues, and our friends, not just from the United States, but also members, all Chinese Americans who live in other countries, the Philippines, the UK, China, and, of course, Texas.
Okay,
Texas hasn't seceded yet. We have more than 70 C100 members here tonight, joining us from Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, London, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, Boston, New York, Washington, of course, and many other cities. So, would all the Committee of 100 members who are here tonight please stand up and be recognized?
Can we get the house lights on so we can see all the Committee of 100 members? House lights. Okay, well, from here I can see so many wonderful people. Great. Well, before we go any further, David, let's take a moment to thank some of the individuals and companies for their support of this conference and this evening's gala. We all know that because of the economy, this is a challenging year for everyone because we all just recently paid our taxes. Oh, by the way, David, wasn't that you I saw getting on a Greyhound bus from New York this morning?
Yeah, we're like next to you hitchhiking.
Oh.
Of course, we're very grateful to our sponsors for their steadfast commitment to the Committee of 100 and its mission. Thank you for ensuring that this organization continues to be vibrant and effective even in these toughest of times. True friends stand by each other through thick and thin, so these are true friends indeed. Get it.
Our conference sponsor, thank you very much to Ning She.
Our panel hosts are Wal-Mart Stores, Inc. and Citi.
Our mentoring event host is Wells Fargo.
And the hosts of tonight's gala dinner. First, our gold hosts, J.T. Tai and Company Foundation, Morningside Foundation, and Mr. Ronnie C. Chan and Prudential Financial. Our